Hey everybody, Tag Life Done Free. Hey, today I thought I would share with you guys some of my thoughts about the environmental, social, and governance scores, the ESG scores. And it's deep, there's a lot to learn, there's a lot of pieces of it, but I'm going to take a look at it from the corporate side and how that funnels down to you, the end user of the score. So if you're interested in my take on the ESG scores, come on. ESG, environmental, social, and governance. It appears to be all the rage in modern media and social platforms across the web. In T.S. Eliot's 1925 poem, The Hollow Men, he writes, "This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper." The quote is timely as the world stumbles into 2023. The largely unquestioned march towards total government control is what should bother most of you. How in the world do people not see the great transformation we are about to undertake? Under the veil of environmental and social issues, our government will successfully apply the heavy fist of governance and millions will die. The long-term effect of turning over control of what is best for you and me has been largely ignored. The people in charge of implementing this ESG system like to argue that corporations need to be socially responsible. They should work hard to address climate change. President Biden recently said that severe weather and wildfires that the country has seen in recent weeks is caused by man-made climate change. He said, "We know that the driver is climate change. We know what's causing climate change: human activity. And this is no longer subject to debate." That's the part that should be scary to you, is that this is no longer subject to debate. Even before him, President Obama said climate change is no longer some far-off problem. It's happening here, and it's happening now. Unquote. Corporations need to work hard to overcome racism, sexism, and many other social problems. The problem with this is that the most popular president in American history and the people he appointed get to decide what is virtuous and morally right, and more importantly, what is not. Can you guess which class will be on the losing end of this? Corporations will be mandated to create policies to reduce their carbon footprint. They will be mandated to be sustainable. Do you suppose that any of these climate warriors stop to think about the long-term effects these programs will have on our economy and our population? I think not. Have you ever heard of the Friedman Doctrine? The Friedman Doctrine says that it's the sole responsibility of businesses to maximize long-term shareholder value. The Friedman Doctrine should be understood because the free market system, free of pressure from the government, will, as it has in the past, fix many of the things that the EGS system claims to do. If a company wants to donate to a political candidate, for example, or a climate change initiative, it has no moral right to do so. A shareholder can donate to whatever they want, as can the CEO of a company personally, but the company, however, should not. The ESG system makes the argument that the state is required in order to ensure companies don't pollute or produce dangerous products. They go on to mandate standards against low pay for employees, an inclusive work environment. This creates an even larger government that we can all look forward to. Without excessive regulations, corporations are subject to the natural laws of the marketplace. If the marketplace is allowed to truly exist, then companies that underpay their workforce, those employees will be hired by some other company. Then the underpaying company will then suffer from the low productivity of its employees. In a free market, companies could not build long-term value by dumping toxins into the rivers. The Friedman Doctrine, also called the shareholder theory, maximizes long-term shareholder value. In a free market, the senior management of firms that did not maximize shareholder value would be in direct conflict with their duties. So why did I just tell you all of this? With the government mandating resources, I want to stress that word, with the government mandating resources, the ESG will be catastrophic. There will be a direct correlation, as there is today, between a nation's average income and the average life expectancy. And in my opinion, this ESG system will literally kill people. ESG is nothing more than socialism in disguise. How would you feel about a system that gives the government total economic control? More important, how do you feel about a government having total, unquestioned moral control? See, with the EGS system, there'll be no need to confiscate companies or resources. This is happening now with industries like social media. Under the disguise of social justice, we see these social media giants censoring dissenting opinions. The ESG gang has come to realize that it's much easier just to allow private businesses to remain in control, well, at least on paper. All they must do now is coerce companies to do the will of the government with these environmental and social rules. And then through corruption and taxation, the profits could be easily gathered for the better good of society. In other words, the powers that be have found an easy way to collect shareholder value through these ESG programs. This program eliminates the need to compensate the shareholder or the negative press of confiscation. They will accomplish this goal to a thundering applause behind the virtuous mission of equality. There is no way these companies are going to fall for this, right? I mean, seriously, these are some pretty smart people, right? Well, instead of fair competition, there's market shares protected by creating monopolies and huge profits. See, the big dogs at the top of these companies become billionaires. Why would they resist? Have you ever in history heard of companies that the CEO gets paid millions of dollars in bonuses while the shareholders and the employees and the company itself struggle? Of course you have. See, this has been going on for a long, long time. Have you ever heard the term the Great Resignation? So you're already seeing the effects of the ESG system. As the ESG system takes hold, economies become less efficient. And then there's people like you and me who just don't want to play anymore. The transfer of wealth to corrupt politicians is just getting started. Most people are still willing to give these con men their money in hopes for a great return. If you remember from some of my previous videos, we are taught to sacrifice today for the carrot of tomorrow. Most people will lose everything before they wake up. ESG is the first step in removing private ownership. Remember when Klaus Schwab said, "You will own nothing and you'll be happy about it"? See, with all the new requirements on environmental, social, and governance, the shareholders will get much less value. The government will pick the winners and losers based on the company's willingness to play ball. This will resemble capitalism, but will be nothing more than backdoor socialism. There are many factors that will contribute to the decline of the country. Declining birth rates, the endless debt, and the like. The system has to deploy the ESG. I want to say that again. Our system has no choice but to deploy the ESG and the digital dollar if it wants to keep the charade going for just a little bit longer. Unfortunately, this will make our next generation poorer, and the economic divide will get bigger and bigger. Life expectancy will decrease, and as I mentioned earlier, the ESG will kill millions. However, it is a small price to pay for diversity and inclusion. See, this is only the first step to the ESG program. In the end, this is all being done because of little old you. You didn't know you were that important, did you? See, individuals' EGS scores exist today in our country. If companies are judged by their EGS scores, then the customers they serve will certainly be part of that company's overall score. Without companies picking winners and losers amongst you and I, they can't get the freebies from the justice warriors we talked about earlier. Most of the big financial institutions already have some form of ESG rating. Did you know that customers at Merrill Lynch will soon be able to view their EGS score on their statements? Let me say this another way, and I'm going to quote the impact investor. Lenders will use this system to choose who they extend services or credit to. The main reason is that companies, including lenders, are being graded according to the ESG standards themselves. Their businesses and prosperity depend directly on their hiring practices, gender diversity, social and environmental impact, and other ESG factors. As they are required to prove their case, they will also need to show that their clients meet the standards they are being graded. Is any of this making sense yet? So, what will determine your ESG score? Very soon, your credit report will include your ESG score. For example, your purchase history will have a big impact on your score. Are you living a reckless life because you homeschool? What would the environmentalists say? The charities you donate to will have a big impact. Again, the moral compass of the social justice warrior will decide which charities are acceptable. So you say, I won't donate to charities. Okay. Well, if you don't donate, you must not care about your fellow man. How much energy do you consume? This will have a huge impact on your ESG score. You want to buy a house? Oh, I'm sorry. You are just too inefficient with your energy use. Lower it and you can reapply in 6 months. Because you purchased a gas chainsaw, or even worse, a gun, you will be denied financing and services from around the globe. Imagine, if you will, buying a truck will carry a higher interest rate and insurance premium than buying a car. Imagine your health insurance premiums being higher because of your social impact. Want to travel to see your kids? How many credits do you have? Unfortunately, this entire system will further divide this country. The haves and the have-nots will be decided for you based upon the moral interpretations of the most popular president in American history. Our future will be one of nourishment cubes and energy boards unless you take a stand and do something about it. Well, you say this won't happen to me because I do business locally. Well, where do they do business at? Where does your local store get their tires or their fuel filters? You have heard me talk many times about peaceful civil disobedience, building community, and parallel economies. Because at the end of the day,